but I thought, and now I know. And we're going to talk tonight. I've got three passages I want to look at this evening. That's the way we do today. But I thought, God's ways and the way he thinks isn't always the way man thinks. And lots of times it isn't. We're going to look at 2 Kings chapter 5, 9 to 15. That's what we want to read first. 2 Kings 5, 9 to 15. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a message unto him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again into thee, and thou shalt be clean. But Naaman was wroth, and he went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers in Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Talking about the Jordan River. May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. Despite being a leper, Naaman, the Syrian armored commander, retained his pride. And didn't his status mirror a dramatic healing ceremony from Elijah? And then verse 11 there, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and heal the leprosy. Instead, Elijah had sent a servant to instruct Naaman to dip 7 times in the Jordan River. How undignified. But when he set aside his prideful anger, Naaman, and obeyed, his leprosy was cleansed. So there in verse 15, Behold, I thought became, now I know. This wasn't the first time someone's think so turned out to be wrong. And when Abraham and Sarah, if you remember that story, they journeyed to the Philistine city of Ger. Abraham journeyed to Abraham told King Abimelech that Sarah was his sister, just as he had done in Egypt many years earlier. And Abimelech promptly took Sarah into his harem, to wife. But the Lord just as promptly ordered him to return her to her husband, Abraham. The indignant king demanded an answer from Abraham. Turn to Genesis chapter 20, verses 1 to 11. Let's read that. Genesis 21 to 11. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Ger. And Abraham said to Sarah his wife, She is my said to Sarah, said of Sarah to Abimelech, king of Ger. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man. For the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife, Abraham. Verse 4, but Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? Question. And she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands have I done this. Verse 6, and God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Verse 7, now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Verse 8, therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all of his servants and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. Verse 10, and Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. Let's read a couple more verses. And yet indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. Yes, he thought, but he was dreadfully wrong, just like Naaman. Looking back at the time, he had been, talking about Paul now in the New Testament, looking back at the time that he had been a Jesus hater, a Jesus-hating abuser of Christians. Paul said in Acts 29, verse 26, verse 9, Indeed, I myself thought I must do many things contrary to the name of Jesus of Nazareth. I wanted to read Acts 26 now, verses 9 to 18. It was Paul thought he was doing right. I thought. Chapter 26, 9 to 18. I verily thought with myself that I ought to do many things contrary to the name of Jesus of Nazareth, which thing I also did in Jerusalem, and many of the saints did I shut up in prison, having received authority from the chief priests. And when they were put to death, I gave my voice against them, and I punished them oft in every synagogue, and compelled them to blaspheme, and being exceedingly mad against them, I persecute them even into strange cities. 12 verse 12. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw the way, a light from heaven above, and the brightness of the sun, shining round about me, and them which journeyed with me. Verse 14. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me, and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. But arise and stand upon thy feet, for I have appeared unto thee for this purpose, to make thee a minister and a witness both of these things which thou hast seen, and of those things in which I will appear unto thee. Verse 17. Delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles unto them, unto whom now I send thee, to open their eyes, and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may be received forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. What a difference between, behold, I thought, in all three of these stories, and now they know, I know, just as like us today, the line of demarcation, learning and obeying God's will. And in conclusion, Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 8, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eye. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. And then finally in Psalms 119, we'll look at verse 105 and 160. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. The entirety of your word is truth, and every one of your righteous judgments endures forever. And if ye will stand, we will sing if anyone needs to respond.